Hello again, Business Management 2 students. During this recording, we are discussing part 2 of chapter 2. So in the previous recording, we introduced chapter 2 and what is operations performance. Let me just move this. We discussed the concept of operations performance. So what does that mean? We introduced that. And then the triple bottom line. So the 3 Ps and why that is important for an operations manager to consider. And then the idea of CSR or corporate social responsibility. So later on, towards the end of the course, we will also revisit the topic of CSR in a lot more depth. So in general, firms have to be responsible. Operations managers can't just produce goods to sell these goods to make a profit. They have to be responsible towards the society, the environment, etc. And a lot of firms actually have, large CSR departments, etc., where they give money to local communities to uplift skills development, things like that. Okay, so we'll discuss more examples of that in the live Zoom session. Right, so this is quite an important section on page 37 in the prescribed textbook, and this discusses 5 performance objectives. So every operations manager, whether you work in goods or in services, you have to make sure that your operations do things right, they do things fast, they do things on time, they have the ability to change what they do, and they do things cheaply. So we can think about discussing this during the Zoom session in the context of, think about, for example, SABC. What does it mean for them to do things right, fast, on time, ability to change what they do and do things cheaply? And let's maybe think about a company like Simba, which produces chips. What does it mean in their case to do things right, fast, on time, etc.? Okay, so the objectives here are now continued, and we look at the importance of quality. So quality is of critical importance to every business because, first of all, if you don't produce quality, customers will run away. They will badmouth you on social media. They will demand refunds, etc. So in the operations process, it's important to have good quality because it reduces cost. So the cost of rework and scrap, all of that is reduced if you just produce quality once and for all. You don't have to give refunds and fix up things that are incorrect or whatever. And then it also increases dependability. So if you go to a certain store, again, I'm a big fan of Woolworths in fruit and veg. I do find them very dependable. They charge a lot for their fruit and veg, but it's never the case where you buy an orange or an avocado and you go home and then the inside is rotten. So it's very dependable. You always know you're going to get good quality, but you're going to pay for it. Okay. Speed is another element of the operations performance objectives. So if you are working quickly, then you hold less stock. This may be raw materials that are used to produce the goods. It may also be finished goods. So if you work quickly, you will have less stock that you're sitting with, and that will reduce your risk. Remember, if you sit with too much of stock, your money's tied up, the stock can go obsolete. In the case of fashion, if you sit with too much stock, it goes out of fashion. In the case of things like yogurts, it goes off. Then the next objective is dependability. And this is important because if you adhere to the operations performance objective of dependability, it will save your business time, money, and give stability to your operations management process. Here we talk a little bit about flexibility. And that's important because you need to be able to change and adapt to the changing needs of your customer. So if we think back to the times of COVID and how retailers were quickly able to move to, click and collect, curbside pickup, home delivery, that showed flexibility. And they were able to change the operation to meet the needs of society, people, etc. If you think about how when you go to the supermarket, it's very different from going to the supermarket a year ago. You know, they've got the screens being put up between you and the cashier. They have sanitizer. They have social distance markers. They only allow a certain number of people into a store at a time. So they've had to be flexible and change the operation to manage the pandemic. Agility is important because so how agile you are, how quickly you can adapt is agility. You can speed up your response time. So once again, checkers were quite good in this, where they were able to very quickly roll out that 60-60 home delivery program. So 60-60 means you can do your shopping online in 60 seconds or less, and you get your delivery in 60 minutes. Okay, so they were able to speed up how quickly they rolled that out to a lot more suburbs in Johannesburg. And also agility can save you time. And again, time is money in any business. And so that's also important. Okay. Why is cost important? You don't have to know the calculation. The textbook has some laborious calculation on this. You do not need to do any calculations in this course. You basically have to know that cost is important because if you have high costs, you are not going to be competitive and your products will be less attractive. Okay. And then how would you reduce costs is to increase or improve your productivity. So as a business, if you buy in bulk, then you can reduce the cost of input and still maintain your level of output and quality of output. All right, finally, please work on the case study at the end of the chapter regarding Sun City. Look through the questions, read the case study, and we'll discuss answers in the live Zoom session. So in this recording, we have completed the chapter on operations performance. Please make sure that you are able to apply the 5 performance objectives to any given scenario or entity. I asked you to think about this in the case of Simba and SABC. All right, so that's all for this recording. Please do come to the live Zoom session where we will then discuss more examples and unpack the case study in more depth.